Okay, so you know how, like, everyone loves a good souvenir, right? I mean, come on, who doesn't love bringing back a little something from their travels?
Yeah, for sure. But this BBC article we're looking at for this deep dive kind of made me wonder if maybe we should all like take a step back, and think a little bit harder about what we're buying.
Yeah, no kidding. Did you know that apparently Americans spend something like over $21 billion every year on souvenirs?
Wow. That's a lot of those little Eiffel Towers and like those I Heart NYT shirts.
Seriously. But, like, what is it about those things? You know what's actually going on, like, in our brains when we decide to buy these things?
Well, this article says that when we look at a souvenir we bought, it can actually like trigger happy memories.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because our brains make a connection between, the thing and the, good experience we had. It's like a physical thing that reminds us of good feelings.
Huh, that's pretty interesting. So it's like a shortcut to a good memory.
Yeah, basically.
But it's got to be more than that, right? I mean, we're not just buying these things to hide them in a drawer. We want to, show them off. Why is that? What do you think? I mean, let us know down in the comment. We love hearing all those other opinions here on The Other Opinion. And while you're down there, don't forget to like and subscribe too.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's more than just like remembering stuff, by yourself. It's part of that thing where we all want to be seen and heard. We all want to share what we did and connect with other people. And a souvenir is a way to say, hey, look at where I was, check out what I did. It's proof that you did something cool and it becomes part of who you are.
Yeah, yeah. It's like saying I was there without having to actually say it. But this article also talks about the history of souvenirs. And like, wow, it goes way back. I mean, even the Romans were bringing back stuff from their trips.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's kind of wild how much we all want to bring back a piece of a place, right? Like it's built into us.
Yeah.
The Romans, they would come back with spices and furs and like weird artifacts, all sorts of things. But things really changed like in the 1700s when like everybody started traveling for fun.
Oh, right.
Places were like stripped clean for souvenirs and they started making tons of them in factories. All of a sudden it wasn't about like special unique treasures anymore. It was all about making money.
And that's where like all the problems start, right? With like, is it okay to buy this stuff or not? This article even says that a crazy 75% of the things they sell in Australia that say they're Aboriginal souvenirs are actually fake.
Yeah.
And they're mostly made in factories in Indonesia. That's a huge problem. Hey, if you guys are digging this deep dive, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more dives like this too.
Yeah, you're totally right. It's not just about whether something is real or fake, it's about how this affects the people who actually make this stuff for a living. Like, take those pashmina shawls from Kashmir.
Oh yeah, I remember those. They were everywhere a while back.
Yeah.
But this article said that now there are so many fakes that the people who've been making these things perfectly for years are getting screwed over.
Exactly. And since people want cheaper stuff, some of those artisans have to like use worse materials just to keep selling their stuff or even buy fake materials just to get by. It's a bad cycle. And hey, make sure to share this with your friends who travel a lot. They need to know this. Yeah. It really makes you think, like our choices when we buy things can really affect people all over the world.
Yeah, totally. So what can we do? Like, I love the idea of buying stuff from local artists, but how do we actually do that and like make sure we're not screwing things up?
Well, you got to know what you're buying and like ask questions, like where was this thing made? How did they make it? Who made it? Just asking stuff like that can make a big difference. And don't be afraid to like look a little deeper too. If it seems like way too cheap, there's probably something fishy going on.
Right. Like if you're in one of those markets where they sell tourist stuff and you see a pashmina shawl and it's like super cheap, that's probably a bad sign.
Exactly. You got to remember that when you buy something, you're making a choice, and those choices have power.
So instead of just grabbing the first cool thing we see, we should think about like where the money's going and who we're helping when we buy it.
Totally. And there are so many better things to buy than that same old tourist junk, This article talks about things like those markets where everything is fair trade and those groups where people work together to sell their stuff.
Yeah, those are awesome. They mentioned this place in Hebron called Women in Hebron, where Palestinian women sell all this beautiful handmade stuff. It's a really great way to support local artists and find something really special.
And in Bangkok, there's this place called the Artist's House. It's this super old Thai house made of wood that's been perfectly preserved.
Wow.
They have all this unique stuff there made by local artists.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and they even have workshops where you can learn how to make your own souvenirs. So what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. We always love hearing those other opinions. And don't forget to subscribe to The Other Opinion while you're there.
I love that idea of making your own souvenir. That's so much cooler than just buying something, you know, it means way more.
It really does. And it kind of goes along with that whole idea of like valuing experiences more than things, you know? Like maybe the best souvenirs aren't actually things at all, but the stuff you learn and the memories you make while you're traveling.
Oh yeah, that's a great point. Like instead of buying some dumb souvenir, maybe you take a cooking class and learn to make some local food, or you learn to do some traditional craft like weaving or pottery. That's the kind of stuff you remember long after you get home. If you guys are digging this conversation, don't forget to hit that like button. And subscribe too, and tell your friends about The Other Opinion. Okay.
Yeah, and it can be even simpler than that, you know? Just think about the things you already collect when you travel. Like maybe it's a handwritten letter you sent from a cool cafe, or a journal where you wrote down all your thoughts, or even just a bunch of sounds you recorded along the way.
Oh, I love that. Imagine recording the sounds of some crazy market in Morocco, or like the waves on a quiet beach. It'd be like you're right back there.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes the best souvenirs are the ones that make you remember what it felt like to be somewhere and help you remember those special memories. And they don't have to be things you buy, they can be things you do or learn or even just find along the way.
You know, that reminds me of something I do when I travel. I always try to find a perfectly smooth rock or a nice shell to bring back with me. It doesn't cost anything, but it reminds me of the place I was. Sometimes the best things really are free.
Aw, that's such a nice tradition. It just goes to show that you don't have to spend a lot of money to be a smart souvenir shopper. It's about choosing things carefully and finding stuff that really speaks to you.
Yeah, it's like we got to change how we think about it, right? Instead of thinking of souvenirs as just another thing to buy, we can think of them as a way to really connect with a place.
Totally. It's about like not just getting stuff, but having cool experiences, you know? And if we do decide to buy something, let's make it count. You know, support those local artists and ask questions about where the stuff came from and think about how what we buy affects other people.
Yeah, it's like the article mentioned how things used to be back in the Silk Road days. Like back then, trading was personal. You met the person you were buying from face to face, and you knew how much what you were getting was worth. We need to get back to that, that connection between people.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, maybe if we all start being more careful about the souvenirs we buy, we can get other people to think about it too.
So as we're finishing up this deep dive into the world of souvenirs, it's pretty clear that these little things we buy are a lot more complicated than we think, right? They're not just things, they're like little pieces of memories and symbols of the things we did, and they show what we care about.
You got it. And like we've been talking about, they can really affect people and the planet in good ways and bad ways.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that even little choices we make, like what we buy on vacation, can have a big impact. So next time you're looking at all those souvenirs, take a second and think about the story behind the things you like. What really speaks to you? What captures the heart of your trip? Tell us what you think in the comments. We want to hear your other opinions here on The Other Opinion, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
And remember, the best souvenirs aren't always things you can hold. Maybe it's a new skill you learned, or a song you heard, or friend you made, or just the memories you keep in your heart.
So true. Okay, so as we wrap things up, here's something to think about. If you could make the perfect souvenir that was good for everybody, what would it be? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you come up with. And hey, just so you know, this was an AI-generated podcast. We try to give you good information, but it's always a good idea to check things out for yourself and get those other opinions.
And don't forget to like and comment and subscribe and share this episode with your friends who love to travel. See you the next time. Happy travels.